You're listening to Catholic Chicago. Ahead, the Archdiocese of Chicago brings you programs about the people, events, and issues that touch our lives. Welcome to Catholic Chicago.
When I listen to my heart, I can hear you whisper, asking me lovingly to come and follow you. Here I am. Did I hear you call my name? Here I am, as you will. Speak, my God, I am ready to begin. Here I am, I come to follow you.
Good morning. This is Sister Lavina Pamet. I'm the host for Dare to Love. Dare to Love is a program that cultivates vocation awareness in the Archdiocese of Chicago through our discussion of topics related to vocation discernment and promotion, and highlighting our religious communities, our religious brothers, sisters, religious priests, and also in general vocation awareness and discernment for our young adults and the not so young. In terms of the call of God, what we also try to encourage people is to be aware in terms of our daily practice, our calling from God, the promptings of the Holy Spirit. That is what Dare to Love is all about. And today is a very special show because I am so proud and so happy to introduce, in a bit, we're going to meet the new vicar for religious, Sister Mary Beth Bromer. But before I do that, let me introduce Father Adam McDonald, who is a Society of the Divine Word, who is my co-host because he has been like a frequent flyer as a guest. But now Father Adam is in Chicago. And so, Father Adam, why don't you just say something a little bit more about yourself and your new ministry, and then we'll introduce our guest.
Thank you, Sister Lavina. It is wonderful to be with all of you. I welcome you to Dare to Love and very excited to be co-hosting this program. As mentioned, I'm Father Adam McDonald. I've been a priest of the Society of the Divine Word, also known as the Divine Word Missionaries, for the last 23 years. And I'm actually living in Chicago for the second time in my life. After having studied graduate studies at Catholic Theological Union in Hyde Park back in the late 90s, I have gone full circle, and I am now the local superior of our House of Formation here in Hyde Park, where currently we have 20 young men in temporary vows with our community pursuing their theological studies. I am transitioning to this ministry as we speak after the last 12 years as serving as vocation director. And so I now have the privilege of living with and coordinating life for a number of men whom I first invited to consider God's call on their lives. So very excited to share more about that with you, and very happy to be here as your co-host.
That's great. And now, so excited. Actually, I'll turn it back to you, Father Adam. Why don't you introduce our new vicar? And because she's just with me right now in the studio.
Indeed. Well, great. I'm happy to do it remotely. Introducing you to our new vicar for religious for the Archdiocese of Chicago, none other than Sister Mary Beth Bromer, a Felician sister in Chicago. Welcome, Sister Mary Beth. We're so glad to have you with us today.
Thank you. Thank you to both of you, co-ministers in vocation ministry, so I know you well.
Yeah. So one background that I wanted to emphasize, because Dare to Love is really a vocation ministry, and for those of us who have that in our blood, vocation ministry, because I'm no longer the coordinator for CAVA. However, CAVA will never be taken out of my life, because vocation ministry and vocation awareness really, as part of our baptismal call, should be every person's ministry, right, and our own life. So Sister Mary Beth Bromer has served for several years as not just the vocation director for her community, but also part of the advisory board for CAVA, for the Chicago Archdiocesan Vocation Association. So, Sister Mary Beth, congratulations.
Thank you.
So what does that entail? What is vicar for religious? Can you tell us more about it?
Well, I serve as the liaison between the cardinal and all the men and women religious of the Archdiocese. what this eventually means. It will continue to evolve as my ministry continues to grow, and I get more comfortable with it. I'm filling big shoes in following Sister Joan McGlinchey, and I want to publicly thank her for her efforts and her tireless energy that she put into this ministry for so many years, and I'll see where God is calling all of us.
Now, I worked with Sister Joan, and one of the things actually I should say the two most important things that I really learned from being under the Office for Religious and Sister Joan as the vicar is that inclusion, being inclusive,
Right.
of to be sensitive about not just who is at the table, but who is not at the table.
Correct.
And so the second thing that I learned really is part of that advocacy.
Mm-hmm.
So if we are not here to serve, then who will?
Right.
Who will serve for those who do not have a voice? So, and I think Father Adam understands that very well too.
Absolutely. And I'm very interested, Sister Mary Beth, in exploring a little bit more as we introduce you today to your own background, sort of where you're from. Are you a Chicagoan? Maybe you'd like to tell us a little bit about your own vocation story. I know as vocation director, you have been asking many people over the course of their lives to share how they heard God's prompting and calling in their life. And we'd love to hear from you how that journey played out for you in your own discernment.
Well, as Lavina said, I'm a member of the Felician Sisters, Our Lady of Hope Province. Our official title, and because some people say, well, you're not Franciscan, and we'll say, yes, we are. We're members of the Congregation of the Sisters of St. Felix of Cantalis, Third Order Regular of St. Francis, better known as the Felician Sisters. And just a little before I begin about my own vocation story, I love to tell how we as a congregation received our name. We were founded in 1855 in Poland, and the beautiful gift that Mother gave us, this great legacy that she's given to all the Felicians throughout the world, is this: do whatever needs to be done. And when Mother, before she even founded us, would take a group of widows and orphans to a statue of our painting of St. Felix of Cantalis, and she would go there every day and pray that God would give them what they needed to care for the widows and the orphans. And so the people of Poland actually named us and started to call us the Felicianki, or the Felicians, the Sisters of St. Felix. And so if you ever meet a sister, a Felician sister who's not happy, just remind her that Felix means happy. And so we as Felicians are called to be joy-filled women in the church. And so that's a little bit about my congregation. Mm-hmm. As a Felician, I was attracted to life as a young girl. I had a great aunt who was a Felician sister, Sister Mary Chrysostom, who passed away, unfortunately, before I entered. But I know that she knows that I entered following in those footsteps. My father was the first lay teacher in one of our Felician schools. I come from LaSalle, Illinois, St. Hyacinth's Parish in LaSalle, Illinois. For those of you who might know it better if you know where Starved Rock is, you know where I come from. I'm a graduate of LaSalle, Peru Township High School, and I played sports. I was real active in all kinds of things there in the parish. And I think I always felt that I was being called, or there was an attraction. Mm-hmm. And we always say that to men and women when they're discerning. Is there an attraction? Is something calling you? Mm-hmm. And so I probably was voted least likely to grow up to be a sister because I was very athletic. I was real outgoing. And I think even now, people always say, gosh, I can't believe that you're a sister. And that's many years after. Mm-hmm. But I love being a sister. I can't imagine not being one. You know, when someone once asked me, especially when I was doing vocation ministry, isn't that difficult? I said to them, how could it be difficult when you are sharing your life with others, just the beauty of our lives? Mm-hmm. And so that's a little bit about my vocation story. As I said, the other piece about St. Hyacinth's, when we first came to Polonia, Wisconsin, mm-hmm. the first mission in America was St. Hyacinth's in LaSalle. So there's a rich history of connection of our Felician roots there. Many sisters have joined from there, and maybe in the future we'll even have some more. So one of the things I was thinking about when some of the questions I had about vocation ministry, I remember one of the things the women would say to me is about discernment. And I'd say, discernment, it's not a one and done deal. And that's what leads to this ministry. I loved what I was doing. So you're continually discerning what God wants you to do with your life. So when I entered the Felicians, it wasn't a one and done deal, that I discerned what God wanted, it's over, and now I move on. It's God's being faithful to that continual call that God takes us on this journey, and we must walk with him.
Right. And, that's what being a sister is, or a brother, or a religious priest, but also a confrere, a brother to others. And your Sister Mary Beth, who is a sister to all others as you serve your community, the bigger community, the church,
Right.
and now as vicar for religious. And you also have other ministries other than your full-time kind of like official job, because as a sister, you're just not these. You might have different hats that you wear.
Right.
And it's not just your role. It's being a sister, being part of a community, being religious. So when we come back, we are we're actually at some point we're going to talk a little bit more about. So as vicar for religious, perhaps what would be good and helpful is, can we talk a little bit more or explain to us some of the the deep matters like immigration, for example, because that's also a topic that is part of your role. Also in terms of, like vocation discernment, our young adults, and perhaps support for vocation ministry. So when we come back, those are some of the things that we would love to hear about. Thank you.
I wonder what this journey will bring, and you guide me faithfully to find a home in you. Here I am, did I hear you call my name? Here I am, as you will. Speak, my God, I am ready to begin. Here I am, I come to follow you.
My heart sings of the love.
Community is core to Catholic Charity's founding mission. For more than 100 years, we have met people and families where they are, serving anyone in need, regardless of their faith, gender, race, or ethnicity. As our world absorbs the economic, political, and social aftershocks of the pandemic, 50% or more of the 6 million people living in Cook and Lake counties have little or no savings. They are a paycheck away from zero. We are deeply grateful to everyone in the Catholic Charities community who partners with us to alleviate the suffering of the people we serve and offer them a better path forward. We are witnessing a message of mercy and hope to a world very much in need. Learn more at CatholicCharities.net.
I can't imagine myself going into any other school.
Our school fosters growth by being a backbone to our family.
My kids are incredibly well-rounded. I see a lot of kindness in them on a daily basis.
One of the things I think Catholic schools do well is personalize the learning experience. You can hear joy in the classrooms.
I feel that I'm happy that I am in this kind of school.
Our school communities provide students with academic excellence and character education in a supportive and stable learning environment. Come see for yourself. Visit archchicago.org/findaschool.
For more than 20 years, Catholic Charities Adult Protective Services has been advocating for seniors who are the victims of abuse, neglect, confinement, or financial exploitation. With our partners at local, city, and state agencies, our trained case managers follow through on every concern that is brought to our attention in a cooperative way to ensure that our seniors are safe and protected. According to the Illinois Department on Aging, last year nearly 21,000 cases of elder abuse were reported in Illinois. Of these, only 5% were reported by seniors themselves. So raising awareness is an important part of this issue. If you are concerned about a senior you know, call 800-252-8966. That's 800-252-8966. With your help, we can stop elder abuse and look out for the seniors in our lives.
A love that dwells in all of your creation.
Sometimes I wonder what tomorrow brings. Give me the grace to love and to be faithful, to be more like you. Here I am. Did I hear you call my name? Here I am.
We are back. This is Sister Lavina Pamet, and I am here in the studio with Sister Mary Beth Bruner, our new vicar for religious, and also on Zoom with us is Father Adam. In the background, actually, is our radio TV department with Mike May, Brian Brock, Colin Cottrell, and the department director, Vince Gerasoli. So we always appreciate the work behind the scenes of our radio TV departments. So Father Adam, we and Sister Mary Beth, we were talking about, like vocation story and the background for Sister Mary Beth Bromer. Now, I did mention about like some of the roles and some of the issues that would happen, and you're pretty new. You just came on board.
1 month.
Yeah.
1 month today, I think.
Okay. And so there's a lot, and I understand that. But even as you are new to the role, you also continue to work with St. Vincent de Paul and also a pantry that you've volunteered with. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yes, I just finished being the Director of Lifelong Formation at St. Trivius Parish, where I continue to reside with my sisters on the south side of Chicago. And in the parish where I'm no longer working in religious education, faith formation, but I continue to work the pantry. We run a pantry twice a month, and it continues to grow. It's a pantry that's supported by our parishioners and from other grateful donors that come forward to help us in our ministry of reaching out to those who are coming, needing food, needing some other help. And so it's a small pantry that continues to grow. It started off very small, and now we're meeting more and more needs each week. It just seems that, especially the older people, there's a lot more older people who are coming to the pantry saying, when they're paying their doctor bills or their insurance or for their medicine, and things are getting tighter. So I'm glad we're able to help them in their need. And so it's a great blessing to be part of that ministry at the parish.
Yeah. And then I know I'm very familiar with St. Vincent de Paul ministry, and so that's also a part of the advocacy that sisters do, and other people, whether they're religious or lay, leaders and members that advocate for those who are in need, especially around this time. It just seems like, especially during COVID, but even though now at least COVID is not as much as a danger, and yet I feel like it has really changed our lives. Mm-hmm. I just don't think that we have really fully recovered. People are hurting and are in need, even more so.
The other beautiful piece is that we've been able to bring our young people on board to help us at the pantry, and it's been a great connection. And so we're starting a group of young Vincentians there at the parish, and they're just really, they love to be involved. So that's been a great piece, and I think that's a good way to also help them maybe in vocation discernment, because as we know, vocations is not just about religious life. It's about finding what God is calling them, what is God leading them. It goes back to what I said about attraction. There was that attraction in my heart as a young child looking at the religious, and I wanted to be like the Felician sisters who taught me. And maybe that's going to happen with the the young people who are ministering with us, because they're seeing very good examples of dedicated couples, married couples who are there, single people, religious, our priests who also support our ministry there. And so who knows? God works.
Are you finding that the young people are very much dedicated to service?
Oh, yes, yes. You know, and then they feel a sense of belonging. They just do. And it's so funny because we finish and we're like, okay, it's time to go. And they're like, what? Aren't we going to talk? Aren't we going to just be? And so that's really grown into a real blessing that I don't think any of us realized that connection would take place, that they would feel a great connection not only to those we serve, but to one another. And that's been a beautiful blessing. So hopefully we can continue that.
Yeah.
And even the Vincentians, I serve on the board for the Archdiocese of Chicago of the Vincent de Paul Society. And the dedicated men and women who are Vincentians, they're amazing. They're just amazing men and women who are just on fire with serving others and making, just not about giving food, but also about the spiritual lives and touching people, helping them to see who Jesus is. So that's a real blessing.
Yeah.
And I'm sure I'll experience that more and more throughout the Archdiocese as I continue to grow in this ministry.
And what is your hope for this new ministry?
Well, I'm excited about getting to know more and more men and women religious. I did have the privilege to work with so many men and women religious through vocation ministry, both in the Archdiocese and then also through our works with NRVC and some of those other groups. So I've come to know a lot of religious, but there's so many I don't know, newer groups or people who have just moved into the Archdiocese. So my goal is to get to know them, to meet them. That's my hope, is that we can continue to partner. Because one of the things that touched me when I spoke to Cardinal Supich was how he spoke about the gift that men and women religious are to the Archdiocese, to the Church, and the gifts that are charisms, that each of our congregations are charisms that we bring, how that enriches the life of the Church and the people in Lake and Cook County. So that to me was exciting, that he recognized that and wants that continue to grow.
And, starting with you, Sister Mary Beth, Dare to Love really has that goal of kind of highlighting those gifts and those charisms. And so I would really like to see more of you, and to please let us know, let Father Adam and I know how we can help do that, and help you with your goal to kind of highlight those charisms and maybe, invite people to be inspired, and for religious also to learn from other leaders and other faithful who are very dedicated to service. So is there anything that you would like kind of, first, before I ask you that, Father Adam, do you have any other questions for Sister Mary Beth?
I do. I have two questions. Okay. And first, just a disclaimer, I'm not trying to figure out or reveal your age, but I'm just curious, and I think our listeners would love to know for how long you've been serving as a Felician sister. Have you recently celebrated a Jubilee, or have a Jubilee in the offing coming anytime soon?
I celebrated a Jubilee, a 25th, a while ago. Not celebrating anything coming up yet. I took my final vows in 1987. I wanted to join right after high school, but my dad said, no, you got to wait till you're 19. So I turned 19 on December 12th, and I entered January 6th, and I've been a Felician since 1979.
Your birthday is on the feast of Our
Lady of Guadalupe.
Wow.
Wonderful.
Yes.
That's great. So you see, I didn't reveal your age, but you kind of gave up the mathematicians in our midst the chance to figure it out.
I don't have an issue.
The other question I was thinking, Sister Mary Beth, was What is maybe a fun fact about you, something that might surprise us? We've learned today that you liked sports throughout your life. I presume you're still a sports fan.
Yes.
Is there anything else that might help us to realize that, as we know, that we don't leave behind our humanity when we become priests, brothers, or sisters? We bring with us who we are. And so it might surprise people to know a fun fact about you that they didn't know.
A fun fact is I have an awesome dog. Well, I better not say I have it because my sisters I live with will be like, hey, that's our dog
Nice.
too. We have a wonderful Weimaraner. Her name is Elsa, and she's an agility dog. And so if you ask me what I did this past weekend, I was at agility trials with our dog. And so sometimes it's good to get away from all the work and you just relax and you watch your dog run around the agility, you know, through those tunnels and up and around and over the bars. And so it's funny how our dog has been a good connection also to getting us some good connections for our food pantry. So we've been able to partner with other people to help our families who come to the pantry so that they don't have to give up their animals. So my fun fact about being a dog lover connects also with our ability to then to work with the families who come to receive things so that they can keep their animals. So I think that's part of being Franciscan, right, Lavina?
Yes, it is. However, I'm sad to say that due to like our history in my own community, probably because of the kind of service that we do, we part of kind of like in the manual is we're not allowed to have pets. That now allowed is like a rule. However, depending on where we are, it's understandable that when you do have a pet, you have to be responsible.
Right.
But I think one of our sisters did have a fish because she said it's not considered a pet because you cannot pet it.
Oh, my goodness.
I do have plants, and even with having plants, I have to really be sensitive to the other people in my community because if I am on vacation or on retreat, then the whole just like Nala, I'm sorry, not Nala, Elsa is, everybody's. So, you have to kind of, you do things in a community because that's how, I guess, religious communities really, it's a model for that, like sort of like that dynamic for living a community, being sensitive, being interdependent and all that. So when you decide, okay, we're going to have a pet, then that's your responsibility.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
She's there to keep us safe.
So
that's her main job.
So would you be good enough with Elsa to, I know in Thanksgiving they have these dog shows, where they judge them for agility and all that. Do you think that you can enter Elsa? You can dream, right?
No, well, we're doing well. She's got all her little titles, and she just keeps going through. And one of our sisters, she just we have a little board where we have all her ribbons. I'm going to have to show a picture of all of Elsa's ribbons someday.
Wow, that is so cool.
All her titles.
Guess what? We're at the end of our show, and so any last words for us?
Well, I would like to thank you for inviting me to this. I'd like to ask everyone to pray not only for me, but for all the men and women religious in the Archdiocese of Chicago, to pray for the priests, and to pray for vocations. There's a great joy in being a religious. And so if they know anyone who they think might have a vocation, to ask that question. Have you ever thought about being a sister, a priest, a brother? Because sometimes people do. They show things that say to us, that they might have a vocation. So to encourage the people not only to pray for vocations, to pray for the current religious priests, brothers, sisters, but also to also invite for people to at least just discern or think about it. Did you ever think about it? So that would be it. And then to continue to support religious in whatever way they can so that we can continue our beautiful and diverse ministries that exist here in the Archdiocese and throughout the world. And then also to remind everyone to pray for the Synod, which begins on October 4th on the Feast of St. Francis, and to pray for our Holy Father and all our church leaders.
Well, thank you so much, Sister Mary Beth, for gracing us with your presence here at Dare to Love, and hopefully you can become eventually a frequent flyer guest.
There you go.
with me and Father Adam. God bless you, and we wish you well. Best wishes on your new role.
Thank you.
And again, please, don't hesitate to let us know however we can serve you and help you.
Thank you. Thank you.
God bless you. And so
All the
we're
best,
going to
Sister
be on a
Beth.
break, and we'll be back. Father Adam, hang on. We're going to be back.
All right.
Sounds good.
A love that dwells in all of your creation.
Sometimes I wonder what tomorrow brings. Give me the grace to love and to be faithful, to be more like you. Here I am. Did I hear you call my name? Here I am, as you will. Speak, my God, I am ready to begin. Here I am, I come to follow you.
Did you know that Catholic Charities accepts car donations? If you're ready to free up space in your garage and put a stop to all those expenses that go along with owning a car, we will gratefully accept your donation, whether the car is running or not. You choose a pickup time that is convenient for you, and we will make the donation as easy as possible, free of charge. You'll receive a charitable donation receipt as well. We accept all types of vehicles nationwide, and you will know that your donation is made to Catholic Charities, an agency you can trust. To learn more about donating your car, call 877-786-4483. That's 877-786-4483. Thank you.
I am a seminarian.
The church needs compassionate and well-trained priests to help guide each of us through life.
What inspires me, what draws me always to the priesthood is continue to see priests be a beacon of hope for other people.
You can play a part in the education of these young men as they prepare for a life of service to others.
I want to be that beacon of hope too, and it sets my heart on fire.
To support our seminarians, make your gift at archchicago.org/seminarian fund or call 312-534-7959.
The cemetery ministry is a core ministry of our Catholic faith tied to the corporal works of mercy. It's comforting to know that our Catholic cemeteries are caring for the remains of our loved ones awaiting the resurrection. There are 44 Archdiocese of Chicago Catholic cemeteries willing to help you in your time of loss. Call 708-449-6100 or visit CatholicCemeteriesChicago.org. Catholic Cemeteries, serving the Catholic community since 1837.
You're listening to Catholic Chicago. Ahead, the Archdiocese of Chicago brings you programs about the people, events, and issues that touch our lives. Thanks for letting us be part of your morning. Now again, Catholic Chicago.
Listen to my heart, I can hear you whisper, asking me lovingly to come and follow you. Here I am. Did I hear you call my name?
And we are back. I'm Sister Lavina Francis Pamet, Franciscan Sister of the Sacred Heart, and my co-host is Father Adam McDonald, who is from the Society of Divine Savior and SVD, and also otherwise known as the Missionaries of the Divine Word. And being co-host, I know that welcoming you to Chicago, since you moved a few months ago, you're on Zoom, even though you're in Hyde Park. Or are you in Hyde Park now, Father Adam? Or
I am, as of
Okay.
this moment, I'm in Hyde
Right.
Park. Yeah.
Okay. However, I think this is really in his blood. Father Adam is he may be in Chicago like right this minute, but you never know if it's going to be traveling again. And you kind of mentioned earlier before we started the show that you were in the LA area. So tell me what you were doing gallivanting in LA area, where I was my home for over 15 years, and that's where I visit for home visits. So what were you doing,
Amen.
Father?
Hey, Sister Levine, I'm very glad to tell you about it. So I would just say that as Divine Word missionaries, we like to say that our name is our mission. And so being missionaries by name, in fact, we do travel. So depending on what day it is, although I'm based here in Hyde Park, we do go where the needs are and serve in multiple ways. So I had the privilege of journeying out to the West Coast last weekend, and I was in Southern California. And I have an older brother whom I may have mentioned in previous programs, who is a priest of the Archdiocese of Los Angeles. And he was being installed as pastor at a new parish assignment in lovely Northridge, California, Our Lady of Lourdes.
Yay.
And my father was able to fly out there from Michigan, his home, and I flew from Chicago. And we had a mini family reunion there and just had such a privileged moment to meet so many of Father Eben's parishioners, the regional bishop who was there for the installation, his associate pastor, other pastors from parishes in the area. And fun fact for you, since we talked about fun facts with Sister Mary Beth earlier in the program, my fun fact is to let all of you know that I had the chance to meet Sister Lovina's sister, as in her blood sister sibling, Maria. And we just had a lovely time getting to know each other. And we just thought, well, how small could the world be that of all the parishes my brother could be assigned to, it would be the parish where your own sister and brother-in-law go to Mass, and your sister singing in the choir. And it was just a delight. So much fun. I'm just so grateful that God has called me to this itinerant ministry, because it does connect me with people both near and far. Just a delight.
Yeah,
So
it
greetings
really
from your
is.
sister.
Yeah, and I loved it because I first heard about it. I think you said, like, oh, Our Lady of Lourdes, and I recognized it right away. And I said, wait a minute, that is my home parish away from home. And even though my home parish, in a way, although it's not a parish here in Chicago, is the Shield Catholic Center at Northwestern, and that's I'm part of the choir there, and I cantor there, and I'm also kind of itinerant. We're not. My community is not necessarily like a missionary a community. However, I think I have that missionary spirit because even from age 3, I've been moving a lot. And so, having grown up in that kind of, like moving around a lot. And then even in LA, even though I lived there for more than 15 years, I keep coming back to visit my family. Because not just my sister Maria or Babes, my brother Bernard is there too, and his family. And then my other family would be in Texas. So if you know anybody in Texas, I'll let you know and meet my family there too.
That'll be my next trip.
Yeah. So you're the new rector or local superior. So so in a way that's like an internal service. However, that is in Hyde Park, so it kind of makes it unique in the sense that you are mostly ministering to your confreres who are by the Catholic Theological Union. So what is that like?
It's quite a change from what I've been doing the last 12 years as vocation director. My position and my ministry was to be like the public face of the community, to be out and about, engaging with young people, inviting them to know our congregation, but most importantly, to know that God has a purpose for their lives and to invite them to consider what that might be. So that took me traveling all across the country, even some international travels for things like World Youth Day, going to college campuses, parishes, large Catholic gatherings, but also visiting with individuals in coffee shops or around kitchen tables with their families, all of the above. And now I have, as you say, more of an internal ministry where I'm at our house of formation here in Hyde Park. I mentioned earlier, I believe that we have about 20 men who are all in temporary vows with our community, and they are continuing to discern as they complete their theological studies here at the Catholic Theological Union, whether they're called to make that a lifelong commitment. as evidenced by the fact that just 2 weeks ago, we had 5 of our men profess their lifelong or perpetual vows as Divine Word missionaries. And then this last weekend, they were ordained transitional deacons at Our Lady of Africa Parish, staffed by the Divine Word missionaries in the Bronzeville neighborhood of Chicago. So interesting that at least among the 20 men I'm living with right now, I was vocation director for 5 of them, which means I was that initial point of contact. Their very first phone call or email with us, their very first conversation with the Divine Word missionary was with me. And so the running joke we have is that all the years I served them as vocation director, I kept saying, yes, yes, join the community, join it. And now that I'm their superior, sometimes the answer is, no, you can't do that, or no, you can't have that. So a little shift in the role in their lives as sort of the overall coordinator for our life. But, to be called the superior, it's an ironic term. I often feel inferior in terms of wisdom, experience, virtue, but basically it amounts to being a coordinator of our life together, someone who kind of keeps us together, gathers us together. Information, communication is very important, helping guide us in making decisions and thinking things through to getting to points of decision. So, and today I'm the cook, so I've got the crock pot going in the background and hopefully have some Mongolian beef for dinner tonight.
All right,
so
great.
We do it all.
Yeah. Just to clarify for our listeners and our viewers, really, these, like local superior, general superior, major superior, these are terms that Rome, the Vatican understands, because these are what's considered canonical. I'm being technical just to say that, we live into these things, or actually the terms kind of get, I guess just so there's a common term for things, and sometimes it doesn't translate. So, for example, we are now in the 21st century, and probably local superior in English would have been translated from maybe the Latin language, and it like majore or something like that, major or superior, and this is also a different generation. And in the 21st century, we're living into, I would like to say, as brother, as confrere, as sister, which is in the past, how the term sister, for example, was coined, is because in a community you would have a lady who had a title, and by calling every member of that community sister, really takes away that title. Because according to the history, if you're a lady, then the sister members who are not titled would have an inferior role, to the superior sisters. And, later on when those communities got reformed, sister became kind of an equalizer. And so even in my community, when we meet in general, we try to say, okay, how can we make it so that, is it a mission minister, or local superior, would be more like mission minister or something like that, or rector,
Absolutely.
who knows? So,
yeah.
But anyway.
I think it is good to clarify terms that helps us understand and kind of talk about the function of being sort of a leader, an animator or coordinator of our community life. But definitely we do believe in shared leadership and decision-making that's in common. And so sort of being the one that kind of helps keep that engine going to call us together at moments of decision. And then, in a sense of being the responsible one to sign their name with a decision to say, this is what we've committed to. So
yeah. And so we're actually going to take a short break. And after we get back, we'll talk a little bit more about, how we've also done some vocation ministry, because even though we have other things that we're doing now, your new role, and then my changes in my life, we have been working at, promoting vocations and helping especially young adults in their discernment. So we'll be back. We're going to go on a short break. Don't go away.
Hear you call my name. Here I am, as you will. Speak, my God, I am ready to begin.
At Catholic Charities, we want to remind you that we are here for anyone who is a victim of domestic violence or anyone who has a concern about someone they think may be a victim. Domestic violence affects millions of people each year, both women and men, of every race, religion, culture, and economic status. It includes physical, psychological, and emotional abuse, inflicted in both subtle and overt ways. The impact on children can be devastating. If you or someone you know are victims of domestic violence and you are looking for a place for healing and recovery, call us at 773-935-3434 in Cook County and 224-430-4977 in Lake County. A safer, happier tomorrow can begin today.
People always say, how can you spend your day with 3-year-olds? Seeing the changes that they go through and just the journey and how they grow, this is a very rewarding job. Even though at the end of the day, we're not the highest paid people on earth. And when I have a parent contact me and say, my child loves school, that to me, I'm setting that foundation for their love of learning, because really you are changing lives, you are molding lives.
Shape the next generation of leaders. Teach. Apply today at archchicago.org/schooljobs.
Catholic Charities' Family Self-Sufficiency Program has assisted thousands of single parents who are working to become more self-sufficient through education and employment opportunities. Our experienced case managers accompany participants for up to 5 years on their journey to identify, address, and break down barriers to improving their quality of life and achieving meaningful goals for themselves and for their families. Professional, compassionate assistance is offered in a safe and trusting environment as participants develop the skills needed to become financially stable and able to support themselves. Every achievement starts with a decision to try. To learn more about Catholic Charities' Family Self-Sufficiency Program, call 847-782-4233 or visit CatholicCharities.net.
That I found in you,
A love that dwells in all of your creation.
sometimes I wonder what tomorrow brings. Give me the grace to love and to be faithful, to be more like you. Here I am. Did I hear you call my name? Here I am.
And we are back from our break. Father Adam and I were just talking about changes in our lives. Father Adam now being the new local superior in Chicago, Hyde Park area, near the Catholic Theological Union. As for me, before this, I was coordinating the Chicago Archdiocesan Vocation Association. I kept this show, just to clarify with everyone, because Radio TV, which is like the greatest team ever, with Vince Gerasoli, as the director, and then Mike May and Brian Brock and Clint Cottrell. I mean, there are just, and like all the communications department, they are just super. They're allowing me to kind of, remain as a host at the same time to allow me to serve the religious communities and all those who are involved in vocation ministry, and to help, just kind of like nurture that awareness for vocation for everyone, whether you're married or you're single or you're thinking about religious life or diocesan priesthood or diaconate, or remaining a single person who serves. It's really all for service and really responding to God's call in your life. And Father Adam being a missionary, with those feet that serve as the feet for Jesus, is a breathing, living being who is now the local superior. And I'm sure they are rejoicing, but at the same time, it's quite different for you. But before
mechanic, everything.
Yeah, before
And
you, well,
mhm,
actually, before and during, I guess, you
yes.
also had several, vocation,
Hmm.
discernment, and events that you went
Hmm.
to, right? So,
I
can you
did.
just tell us a little bit more about? Because I know they're always interesting to hear about.
Indeed, indeed. And even with the transition to this new role, I've been asked by my
Oh,
leadership to continue serving on our vocation team, at least in a part-time capacity.
okay.
We have several new vocation directors who need some mentoring and some
Mm,
guidance. And so taking advantage in the best sense of that word of the years of experience I can offer from what I've learned and what I'm learning. And so I continue to look for opportunities to be of service. As recently as at our diaconate ordination last weekend, we had a
mm-hmm,
young man from the south suburbs of Chicago,
mm-hmm,
whom we thought, why not invite to this event? And that way he could meet many more Divine Word missionaries. And so
mm-hmm,
we had the chance to meet there. And so continuing that kind of relationship building. I'm also starting a new ministry at St. Xavier University here in Chicago,
mm,
offering Mass there some Wednesdays out of the month at noon, and hopefully in the future, a Sunday evening Mass. In a couple of weeks, I'll be in Louisville, Kentucky to represent our Divine Word missionary community at the National Black Catholic Men's Conference,
mm-hmm.
after which I'll travel to Indianapolis for the National Catholic Youth Conference,
Oh,
or
yes.
NCYC. So
Yeah.
I'm still finding a way to weave in some of these opportunities to be
Okay.
present in the vocation world and to be available to answer questions and provide information to young people who, as you say,
Mm-hmm.
Sister Lavina, are beginning to ask those questions. I like the way Sister Mary Beth said it earlier in the program, sort of, what is that attraction? We feel that attraction, but trying to name what that is
Mm-hmm.
sometimes. We can be attracted to all kinds of things. I'm attracted to ice cream. I'm attracted to cake. I'm attracted to K-pop or a series on TV, but kind of naming what is that core
Mm-hmm.
attraction, that desire to which I want to give my life and commit my time and my talent, my treasure. And so crystallizing that is a journey, as we know. And Sister Mary Beth said it very well earlier. It's not one and done,
Mm-hmm.
but it's an ongoing process of helping people clarify that. So I'm privileged. I feel very privileged to be able to live with men who are saying yes to that call by living in temporary vows as members of our community, trying to be a brother to them, but also in that sense, that guide and that hopefully witness and model for them too. And at the same time, going out from here to still minister among those who are looking into the community. So I kind of have that privileged place both in and outside of the community right now. And it's so far it's an interesting mix. I'm really enjoying it.
That's great. And you have a lot of energy. And, Sister Mary Beth also mentioned about, Felix, being happy,
Hmm.
and,
Hmm.
um, you know, I think that joy, really, it's that deep
Mm.
joy that we
Hmm.
have. And that's one of the gifts of the
Indeed.
charism. I had the
Indeed.
privilege this summer of spending some time with the ACE Fellows, which is I, I always struggle with remembering the name of the ACE Fellows, but it's the teachers really. The teachers at Notre Dame, they have this program that allows them to be missioned out into
Mm.
living with other teachers, not in their home state, but elsewhere, and then teaching out of their comfort zone and also learning how to live in community with others that they did not grow up with, not their family, which is to me, like living, you know, it's challenging living with your family that you grew up with, you have your parents, your siblings, right? And see how I'm sure people have stories about like how hard that is. Now imagine yourself living with others from different backgrounds and especially missionaries living with people not only from different backgrounds but also different cultures and different nationalities, different languages. It's by the
Very true.
grace, it's by the grace of God that you don't kill each other.
Amen.
That might be extreme, but no, what it
Right.
is it's a gift.
It is.
Heaven is, kind of like, when we talk about the Holy Spirit, Father, Son, Holy
Yes,
Spirit, it's a dynamic. And
it
the
is.
perfect
And Sister Levine,
dynamism.
I think the Holy Spirit is working through you because I think if we just look at our world today and how fractured we tend to be and divided. We tend to think of this as a new reality because it's the time we're living in.
Yeah.
But all you need to do is study history to know that people before us lived fractured lives. Look at the Christian community in Scripture. Are you with Paul? Are you with Apollos? There were already these fracturings.
Right.
Which apostle would you follow? And so our founder, St. Arnold Jansen, when he founded Divine Word back in 1875, he had the idea that we would not be able to witness effectively and preach the gospel message of inclusion and welcome to God's people if we ourselves weren't trying to live it. And so, to your point, here in Hyde Park, among the 20 men living in this house, of which I'm privileged to be their brother, we have men from the Americas, from Asia, from Europe, from Africa, and bringing together the richness and the differences that enrich us. The way I cook Mongolian beef is a little bit different than my brother from Africa or from Asia. And that's wonderful. It enriches us.
Right.
And we get to sample and to taste and learn some of the languages that the others speak. What are the cultural feasts and national holidays that are important in each culture? And so we really try to go from being a multicultural community where we come with our differences and kind of coexist around the table to intentionally looking for opportunities to mix and mingle and share back and forth what is the richness that each of us brings to that table. So tonight it's Mongolian beef. Tomorrow night it might be African fufu. The day after that it might be Wiener Schnitzel from Europe or something like that. And it just is, I hope and I pray that we're being true to the spirit of our founder, St. Arnold, who wanted us not to tell people you should live in harmony as diverse as you are, but that we try to lead by example, even embracing, as you say, the challenges, the miscommunications, the misunderstandings that come with that, but committing to work through those and staying with it, I really do believe is a gift for our world. And it's certainly a gift to us.
It is truly a gift and really a witness. So, and that is, I think that's why I strongly believe that I know for me personally that is one of the major reasons I became a sister. Because before that, I was already a lay missionary volunteer. So I was part of the team. I was already serving, right? But I really, in my heart, I was called to a religious community. And the reason for that is being in community, learning how to live in diversity, celebrate diversity, to be sensitive about the differences. And instead of it fracturing our relationship, to celebrate it. And to really learn, it's sort of like one sister said, you've heard about, like diamonds kind of like, before a diamond becomes brilliant and smooth, you have to kind of like rub upon each other. And in our own community, if we can, not just like trying to get along each other, what it is these are skills. These are special skills that we all need to learn. And Sister Mary Beth mentioned the synod. That's another way is, can we stay at the table and converse? We don't all have to agree, but at least we all need to be heard. And I think that's another poverty in our world is if we are not listened to, then it festers. So we really need to put forth our voices, and it comes back to that advocacy. If people who cannot be heard are not at the table, then who will speak for them? And how can we invite them in? So we're at the end of our hour. Father Adam, can you believe it?
Hard to believe, Sister Lavina.
And so, for next time, we hope to inspire more people. And best wishes on your new role and kind of integrating everything for me too, because in Portuguese classes right now, and also part-time with the Illinois Patrons of the Arts in the Vatican Museum. That's my newest part-time job right now. And so I'm going to have to kind of integrate that in my new life, as well as vocation ministry. So
great. So good to be with you as always.
Yeah.
Many
And again,
blessings.
Thank you to the radio TV department. And we keep learning. So for our next one, November is going to be a special month. So yeah. Thank you, everyone. God bless, and make peace with everyone in your life.